need base runners. Let's go.
Hey, thanks for coming in and welcome to the first episode of the Travel Ball Experience. I'm David and this is Charlie. Say hi, Charlie.
Hey, everybody.
And we're very excited to get this process started. Please go and find our Facebook page, which is embedded in the notes. Learn a little bit more about us and what we're trying to do with this community and this podcast. So, Charlie, you're talking about a lot of different topics, and we love talking travel ball, obviously, together. What's our first topic and our first episode going to be today?
Today we have a great topic, very timely. Tryout season, the hot stove.
The hot stove, also known as the travel ball portal.
The travel ball portal.
The portal's never closed, is it? Our season in our state ends at the end of June. And I don't know about the rest of the country, but it's pretty close. Probably about mid-June is when the bubble starts to happen, right?
There's some team that breaks the seal.
You start hearing the rumors, you're in line trying to get a hot dog, and you hear someone behind you. Did you know that they're going to split? This coach is going to take two teams and go over here, or two players and go to this team, and this player's and then the next thing that happens is on Facebook they're looking for a guest player, because then you find out some parents have left already before the season ends.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of like this big cloud that's just like bellowing, and then the Facebook ads are saying, hey, we're going to have tryouts in July. And you're like, oh, this is going to get good.
Yeah. And as soon as you see that first team post tryouts, you have to post your tryout.
Yeah, it's a race to see who can post it the most. And if you post it too early, then you want to go back and post it again and again, so you're last in line. And then so the state's over, early July tryouts start, and then it starts, right? Coaches are removing kids are leaving teams are splitting, teams are combining, there's package deals, there's promises, there's broken promises, there's secrets, there's gossip, there's teams disbanding at the last minute after all the tryouts have happened, looking for players, and you do all this, and we're in early August, and guess what? There's still a couple of teams that need one or two good players.
You're right. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Of all the drama in travel ball, and there's a lot, this might be the most dramatic time of year.
Yeah, it really is. I ran into a mom the other day, a friend of ours, and her son's not in our boys' age division, but she said, oh, we hate July. We've always hated July. And this year was particularly upsetting to her. They were asked to join a team at the beginning of spring. They joined the team. They were told, hey, he can stay on the team. Most of the tryouts happened. And then they came back and go, well, he really doesn't have a place on our team, but in our organization, he can play for this other team.
Oh.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, we don't do that. So they went and fortunately were able to just move to a different organization and fine. But, there's some really bad situations out there, and it's kind of entertaining if you're not in the middle of it. Our team is pretty stable, so we kind of get to watch this, but it stresses me out watching it play out and hearing about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do all that. But what are your thoughts in general about movement?
My thought is that I'm really glad we don't have to deal with it. I'm glad that we get to stay on the same team year to year. Honestly, I think that's one of the biggest benefits to playing travel ball is keeping a team together. And so I'm surprised more teams don't try to keep a consistent roster from year to year.
Yeah, well, I think that's the one thing in thinking about this topic is what I want to try to figure out. And I don't think we'll always necessarily come up with answers to topics, or that's even our job, but is to bring up nuanced conversation, have involvement from the listeners on Facebook. We want you to go as a listener, find our Facebook page, make comments, be respectful, of course, but we want your input as well. And try to just maybe be a little better for it when it's all said and done, right? I don't think we can fix it.
No.
But I think that we can, maybe help people navigate it a little better. I was thinking too with that same topic of we have 10 players on our team. 7 of those, the only travel ball experience they have is on our team. and we're going into year 4. So
and that feels unusual.
Oh, I think we're a unicorn. There's a couple out there. There's for sure, and in our age group, there's a couple that do that, but that's not the majority. And so, when thinking about the topic, why is it happening? I mean, I just kept thinking. I was driving and traveling this week for work, and I had a lot of time to myself, and I just kept thinking, why so many? Hey, listen, there are times when it's the right move to change teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not working. The kid vibe back and forth on the team isn't working. The coach is frustrated with the parents are frustrated with the coach. But after they've given it time, and I think that's always going to occasionally happen. But to the extent it is now, I think I'm just trying to figure out what caused all of the movement to start with.
Right.
And for me, it comes down to, communication, right? And then being honest.
That's a big part for sure.
Because I think everyone is trying to say the same thing, right? Like if I think I was thinking about this. So there's 4 stakeholders in my opinion. You can tell me what you think about this theory. We haven't talked about it. I think there's the coach. I think there's in some cases the academy owner, and for this podcast purposes, academy would be a team who has an indoor facility and an outdoor field, and they have teams at every level, right? And we all know about those. But they have their own end game as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Parents, and then the 4th is the one that really doesn't get asked the most, and that's the kid.
Yeah.
Right? So if you got 4 stakeholders and 3 of those are adults, and they're all kind of saying the same thing, right? They say development's important. We're going to develop your kid. We want our kid to develop. Skill improvement, learn the game, play with good players, play against good competition. Of course, we want to win a few games, but we want to. Oh, and by the way, we want a great baseball family, and of course, we want little Timmy to have fun.
Right, of course.
Yeah. And I think that almost everyone probably has some degree of all those being truth.
Yeah.
What I don't think is happening is that we know the level of importance for each one of those.
Or their ability to do that. I think every team wants to develop the players, win games, the players to have fun, the relationships among the parents to be good, but I don't think everybody knows how to facilitate that, or that it's even possible given the number of people that we're talking about.
Well, I mean, I heard somebody say the other day at the ballpark before the season's over, well, teams have to lose out here too.
Right.
not every
Right.
team can win, right?
True.
And in each classification, there's those teams that are hot and are winning. There's the 500 teams, and there's the bottom feeders, and that's just the way it is. And you either get better, or you move on, this or that. But I don't think you can have everything, or the teams that do, maybe it comes in flashes. And there are some teams that are highly successful that seem like they have a good environment and they stick together.
Yeah.
But those are unicorns. I think today what we're talking about is just the mass exodus of the coach wasn't happy, or the parents weren't happy, or the coach wasn't happy with the direction of the academy, and then occasionally the kid gets his say too.
And I think that goes back to one of the reasons that if we ask the question, why do teams break up? I think one of the reasons that coaches ask kids to leave is because they think that kid's the reason why we're not winning, or we can't develop that kid. And maybe the parents leave because they think it's not that my kid can't win or can't develop, it's that this team can't develop him.
Yeah, I think there are parents out there that get the opinion that they had the halo effect with their son.
Their kid's a little bit better than...
Yeah, and it may be true. Their kid may be a little bit better, because kids all develop, and let's just say, take classification, let's just say it's a kind of an average AA team at 10 years old, and here comes their son, and he really grows and progresses, and he looks as good as his friends who play on AAA and major teams, and the parents start going, maybe Junior needs to go play somewhere else.
Yeah. Or maybe Junior's not getting any better. And instead of saying it's not because of juniors' not lack of practice or juniors' athletic talent, it's because they think it's because the coach doesn't know how to teach them to play baseball. I think there's a lot of people who think that. If only my kid had a better coach.
Yeah. Well, as being a coach, I'd like to say if they could come out of the stands and get the kids to field every ball without an error, man, I'll switch you places tomorrow.
No doubt.
Man, tomorrow, watch our team go undefeated and win everything and make no errors. That's to another great point of this whole thing, Charlie, is what are we losing sight of? Because these are kids. I mean, even the best teams out here, they're going to make some errors, going to make a wild pitch, they're going to walk a kid, going to strike out here and there. And that's part of baseball, right? That's why it's such a great sport to learn life lessons, because you're going to do it in high school, and you're going to fail in college, you're going to fail in the pros if you were lucky enough to get there. But man, there's a lot of expectations of parents. When they say development, they think their kid's never going to make an error.
Right.
Because he's going to make an error.
And they're going to strike out, and they're going to have games on the mound where they can't throw a strike, and they're going to forget to tag up on a fly ball to the outfield when they're standing on third base because they're 11 years old.
Because they're 11 years old.
And it's hard to remember all of that stuff.
And even worse at 8 or 9, right? I think most of this conversation is probably from 8 or 9 up to 12. 13 and 14 can still be a transfer portal, but that's almost expected, and with national and regional teams gets kind of crazy in itself. But as far as the standard travel ball team, yeah, I mean those errors happen, and the development happens at different ages, right?
Yeah.
When does a coach give up on a kid because he's not quite hitting the ball as well as the rest of the kids? To me, I think it comes down to, is the kid really trying? Does he want to be there? And is he putting the work in? And, I think most times, if that's the case, a kid could probably stick on most any team.
Yeah.
Especially at this age. So maybe there's other frustrations with that, but so if the skill, the skill improvement, development, all these things are talked about, they all want the same thing. No, when does that start breaking apart to where by mid-season some parents are thinking about leaving early and the coach is already trying to talk behind the scenes to get another player? What happens?
I think it just comes down to personalities, really. I mean, don't you think that it's just a matter of a clash of it's not. Let's at your job, you have people that you don't necessarily work well with together, but you're getting paid to be there. So it's a little bit different than if you're at the ball field and you think, if I think the coach is an idiot, there's probably no saving that.
Yeah.
And if the coach thinks the parents are idiots and the kid won't try, it's probably no repairing that relationship. So I don't know. I think you're lucky if you don't have to deal with that. It's just luck. Well, not luck. It's also skill in selecting players and families too.
Yeah, and the term baseball family is always thrown around out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see them on the ads. We have a great baseball family.
Right.
Looking for 5 kids. You sure about that? Yeah, but I do think there are a lot of good baseball families out there. I really do. But that's thrown around a lot, and I don't know how much that means to everyone. But again, if you go back for development all the way down to, we want the kids to have fun. I just think that honesty of what you're truly going after ahead of time would minimize some of this, right? So, like on our Facebook page, everybody please go find that. Charlie wrote down, and she's going to post some good questions to ask the coach. And so we really would like everybody's input on that, because they can expand on this. We can learn, you can learn. But I looked at some of the questions, and I think they're really good. And I think we could go over a couple of them right now if you want.
Okay.
The first question was kind of profound. I mean, if I'm sitting there and a parent asks me this question, it's not a one-line answer.
No.
So the first question that Charlie wrote down, something that you could ask a coach when you're going into tryouts: what does success look like for this team? what is the goal?
Yeah. I think that's the most important question.
Is it? Well, when I look at your questions, it really is. But if you don't have that could catch a coach off guard, I think. One who's not prepared.
For sure.
Or one who doesn't have a vision, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our team, we made a vision statement when we were 9. It's really not changed. I kind of know what that is, but I know a lot of coaches they're just trying to put together kids to win. You know, thinking that competition, and the better the competition for their kid, than what's their end game. Maybe that coach's end game is he wants his kid to play at the highest level so that he can have success to make the high school team, so that he can get looks to go into college, and he's still 11, hasn't hit puberty yet.
Right. Right.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, so his end game is to win games.
Yeah.
But he tells the parent, of course we want the kids to have fun. We have a great baseball family. And that may be a goal of his. But what overrides it, right?
I mean, don't you think that winning games and having fun go together, right? Kids are not going to have fun playing baseball if they lose every game.
No, they're not going to come out and do it.
No, exactly.
It's already a game of failure, and if at the end of the day your team can't win,
and the parents aren't going to have fun watching their team get run ruled every weekend. I mean, as we know, it's not as fun. It's not as fun.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Traveled 3 hours to lose the first game, 8:00 game on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Travel home. That does not sound fun.
So how would you answer that question? What does success mean for your team?
Yeah, I mean, if I got that question, and I've pretty much have had to say this whenever we have had openings, although limited those have may been, I say the first thing that we've made this team for is that we want the kids to have the greatest baseball experience possible, so that when they're in college and they come back together and they're sitting around somebody's dorm talking, or back home at someone's house over Christmas, they can say, "Man, didn't we have the best baseball time ever in youth baseball? Wasn't youth baseball like the funnest? Wasn't our team just a blast? I love that. I miss that." And if that's what we're after, then we're after some wins. Okay.
And if you're after wins, you're after development.
We're after development.
You don't win if you don't develop, especially young kids.
And then they're going to have fun.
They're going to have fun.
But not doing it at a cost. And I've told parents this when they've explored our team. We don't do it at the cost of, hey, we're going to have tryouts every single season, no matter what, and our kids are going to have to really fight for their spot every year. That's not the case. If you're on our team, we want you. If not, we're going to have communication about it. But we've kept a lot of. We could have made more changes early. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
For what reason? To win more 9U games?
Right. Right.
You know, we're going into 12 in AAA. We've got 7 kids who've only played for us. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
So I think that we are accomplishing that, but we have to develop the kids and get better, or we weren't going to win games, and then the team was probably, just naturally probably would have disbanded at some point, right? Because I wouldn't have wanted to continue that, right?
Yeah.
For those early seasons. But for me, I want to be able to say, when we look back, are the kids years later saying, "I loved baseball. I loved my team. Yes. I love our experience." And then we go backwards from there.
Yeah.
And that's how I've answered it to any time we've ever had it.
So if you're a parent and you're asking that question of a coach, you need to make sure that your goals and their goals align before you join a team.
Yeah, well, I think that like we said earlier, there are times when moving's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the extent it is now, that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, the stakeholders are all saying the same thing, but they're not being completely transparent.
I think they have different ideas about whether or not those things are happening. The coach may think that development is happening, but the parents may not. The parents may think they're being perfectly reasonable baseball families, but the coach may disagree with that. Like you said, doesn't it all come down to communication?
Yeah, 1,000%. Number 2 you have on here is how are practices structured? And in parentheses, a team focused on development should have structured practices that teach skills, situations, and address deficiencies. But I think that's a great question, that especially when you're dealing with the younger travel ball, you've got a lot of dads, right? You got a lot of dads, even if they're coaching for, as we defined earlier, an academy, or they're a private team, they still have so much leeway to do whatever they want in practices. How are practices structured? If you're coming from one team and you don't like how they practice, and you just talk about development and having fun and winning games, and then you go and it's the same practice plan, you're going to be disappointed. So there's a lot of different ways that question's, I think, a valuable answer for the parents.
And the parents, when they ask that question, you should have an idea of what answer you want to hear. You should, like, if the coach says, we just show up and I stand at the plate and hit fungos for an hour and then we go home and that's fun, that's probably not a team that's developing any skills or baseball intelligence or is going to win many games, frankly.
Yeah, I might even ask to see what a previous practice plan looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I know some coaches write a little bit down on a piece of paper and they just hold it and they look at it and they go through it and that.
Walk me through a practice. That's a perfectly reasonable question.
What does a normal practice look like?
Yeah. And also you need to know, are they outsourcing pitching development? Are they outsourcing hitting development? Are you expected to do that on your own, or is that happening in the team practices, or are you expected to have a private coach for pitching? Or
what age? Yeah, age groups are going to be a little different on that. I think the older you get, the more it's kind of expected. But for sure, if you're just coming into travel ball at 8 or 9, what are we're going to practice 3 days a week. Oh, by the way, if you're going to pitch, you got to have a coach. If you're going to hit, you got to have a coach. So those are great questions. Talking about pitching, your third one here, Charlie's. A lot of people want their kids to pitch. How many pitchers are on the team, and what are your pitch and inning limits?
Yeah. You want to make sure the coach and you agree on how much should a pitcher be used.
I hear that a bunch.
Right. I bet you do. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that a team doesn't have 4 or 5 pitchers. That's not enough to get through a tournament. Not without damaging some arms along the season.
Yeah, I spoke to a dad this offseason, and his son was being pitched entirely too much. It's not even for debate. I won't go into it and might point a finger, but it was insane. And talked to the dad. I said, well, you have responsibilities too.
Yeah.
You should not tell the coach that that's not working. But they're leaving the team. That would have been something to know about ahead of time, right? How what's your pitch limit, not out limit, because in USSSA, which is what we are, and I know across the country there's different organizations, but you can really abuse a kid's arm with just pitching to the number of outs.
Yeah.
You can still pitch the kid. There's nothing that says one out may be 20 pitches, 1 out may be 3 pitches. Right? So
maybe 50 pitches. Yeah, at the younger ages.
And you start pitching, kids 120, 130 pitches a week at 9 and 10 years old, which we've seen done.
Mm-hmm. Not even that unusual, really.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And then what about the kid who's the parent who has a kid on the team who's kind of a rising potential pitcher, and he's not getting any development time because 3 of the guys are pitching 120 pitches.
Yeah, right. Or maybe that kid doesn't throw as hard as some of the other kids on the team. I've definitely heard stories of coaches saying he's not a pitcher and we're not going to use him on the mound. I think if you're talking about 9 and 10-year-old kids, everyone should have the chance to pitch, to try to pitch, if they are willing to get on the mound. You have a responsibility to let every 9 and 10-year-old try. Because you're going to get to 11, 12, 13, and you're not going to have kids who can pitch. Because you're not going to have enough guys that have done it young.
No, and we all know that development happens at different stages. The other number 4 you got on here is how's playing time determined, and do you bat the lineup in all games? Do you bat everybody, or do you just do the 9? I think most 9, 10, 11 teams kind of got everyone around. But we started seeing that 11 teams going 9 and 7 and doing the major league substitutions. And that might be a great question to ask, because if you're just thinking there, little Johnny's going bat maybe he's not if he's not playing. So.
And I could see that going, I get the argument for not batting the lineup on bracket day. On the other hand, the kid's good enough to be on your team. You signed him to the team. He should probably play. You're saying he's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their own opinion on the number of players. I mean, we now have 10. Actually, we had 9 in the spring, but we have 10. What's the difference between 9 and 10? If he's good enough to be on the team, you should be batting at this age.
Yeah.
I mean, if we are, again, going back to the number one thing that everyone talks about, development, right? When they start talking about a team. Well, we're going to develop, but, he can't play half the time.
And you can't develop as a hitter unless you bat in games.
No, got to have reps. Hey, number 5, the last one that we have on Facebook. Again, everyone, please go and find that and add your comments and questions you would ask or have asked. How many players are returning from last year's team? Were players cut or did they leave, and why?
Yeah, that's a big one. If half the team is leaving, that should be a big red flag.
So, in starting this team, basically for my son coming out of 8U Rec League, we have never tried out for a team. You came to us the year after that, and you did go through some tryouts in different places. Were these questions that you had thought of ahead of time, or looking back at some of those?
We asked some of these questions, and some of the questions I thought of because the answers just came about naturally in the course of having conversations with coaches. We did ask, I think, everyone about practice. Well, some teams, believe it or not, we didn't even talk to the coaches, which I think that's a red flag too. If you go to a tryout and you never meet a coach and you never get to talk face to face to him, that's probably not a good team for you. You know what I mean?
So you were just trying out for an organization.
Yeah.
And then, okay.
Yeah.
That's why.
But most of these questions we did ask, and I would say they were all of these. I didn't know to ask about pitching limits and how many pitchers. I didn't even think to ask about how many players were going to bat. Like, it didn't even occur to me that someone might not bat because coming out of rec ball, of course, you're required to bat the lineup. But yeah, I think these are all real important and definitely influenced our decision to come to the team we ended up coming to.
Well, we're happy that happened. Yeah, your kid's a stud. So leaving a team, so it's going to happen, right? Whether it's the right reason or maybe it's the communication wasn't great, but the parents have decided, man, we're done with this. What's the right way to leave? And what is your thought, Charlie, on those leaving before season end?
I can't imagine a scenario where it's cool to leave unless the coach is harming your child.
Verbal abusive to the point where it's not healthy.
Or refuses to take him out of the game from the mound, just is over pitching him and won't stop, is being belligerent generally, or I don't know, shows up to the games drunk or something like that. There's probably some cases out there where it makes sense to leave, but I do think you have a commitment to stay through the end of the season for the team, as long as things are normal.
I'm just going to end that there and say I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But there can be a circumstance,
an extenuating circumstance where
there
and I think as far as how to lead the team, I think the honesty is the best policy. I think the coach should be honest with the families and say, listen, we're looking to go a different direction next year, and Timmy's probably not part of those plans. And I think the parents have a responsibility to tell the coach if they're thinking about leaving, when they know it.
when they know it. I agree. I would want all the heads up as a coach, and
Yeah.
and that's happened where we've had a couple of kids that have left for to focus on one of them for basketball. He was playing year round, and baseball probably wasn't going to be his thing, and notified well before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And this was an amazing experience. He then came to my house. I met him out in the driveway with his mom. Just finished 10U baseball, and he comes up and he told me why he was leaving. They did that as a development thing for the kid. It was the coolest thing ever.
What a great experience for him too.
And for me, too. But to see that makes me want to be a better parent for my son. Like I better do that for my son too.
For sure.
Because it was the first time that he had ever left any sort of activity,
Mm-hmm.
and the parents just said, we want him to learn to walk away the right way. And
that's so good.
I knew he was coming. I gave him a little baseball, and we all kind of teared up a little bit, and we're still great friends. And that's a right way to leave, on the top level. I mean, that's amazing.
So what are some good reasons to leave a team? Like why should a family leave a team apart from those extenuating circumstances that we talked about, where it's just not good for the kid mentally?
Yeah, I mean, I think if the kid doesn't want to go to practice.
Yeah.
If the kid's not happy.
He's just done with baseball or done with that team.
Or he's done with that team, or he likes to go out and play catch and have fun with you, but tells you 100 times over he doesn't like the coach. Well, you probably better go a few practices and see what's going on as a parent. But those would be my take on that. I mean, there are times where just personalities aren't going to work.
Right.
Or the focus. The kid wants to play baseball, but kind of a step out of rec league, and the coach kind of wants to go a step towards major.
Yeah.
And yin and yang on that's just not working.
So what if the kid or the parents think that the kid's a little bit better than the team? What if we want to go try out for a major team?
Go ahead. If a parent, I mean, it's so easy to do. Like, we all think our kids are great, and they usually are all great in different ways. But on the field, we all have a halo effect about our kid. But go ahead and do it. I don't think there's anything you can do. I mean, if the parents think their kids are better than they are, then they just need to go try out and find out.
Yeah, and maybe their kid is better than the team. I could see that for sure.
Yeah. So what do you do if the kid's better? He goes to a higher classification team. That's where he should be playing, and he goes home and tells his parents, "I miss my friends. I want to go back."
I guess the parents and the kid have to decide where they put the priority. I can say that for us, our son playing with his friends, with kids he loves, is a huge priority, especially considering that it is a very competitive team. Now, if all his friends were on a really bad team, I might feel a little different.
Yeah, we'll just have him for a sleepover, but we're not going to play baseball with him.
Exactly.
So when it comes to a coach, I saw some things on Facebook pop up where some parents were really disappointed and upset, and it got several replies about not hearing back from coaches after tryouts. I think we need to discuss in removing a player or family, what's the right way, what's the communication, what should be happening there. What would you expect as a parent trying out?
Well, I would say our son tried out for 5 teams, and 2 of them we never heard anything from at all, one way or the other. And 3 of them, he made the team, and we heard from them, obviously. I think that you're not seeing so many kids that you can't tell kids no thanks. You should tell kids one way or the other whether they made it.
Absolutely do that. I'm curious, were you given dates? Like, we will get back with you by.
No, it wasn't even that.
We just left it open ended and went.
Yeah, yeah. And there was no we'll let you know within a week whether you made the team or whether we would like to ask you to join the team.
See, here's the thing, Charlie. It's like this goes back to these programs and these teams. The perception is they're these professional type teams, right? It's travel
Yeah.
ball, and there's a lot of money involved,
Yeah.
and you have human beings who are running this, who maybe some of them don't want to say no.
Right.
They
Right.
don't want to be honest because it's just confrontation's not their thing.
And I guess I don't understand that because, we have jobs. You've probably hired people.
Yeah, for sure.
Lots of people go through the interview process. Some of them you aren't going to hire. You have to tell them, sorry, you're a great candidate, but we're going to go in a different direction. There was someone more qualified.
It's as simple as that too,
and we're grown-ups. We ought to be able to do that.
Yeah, it blew my mind because there were one person started the comment, and then there were several others from same thing happened to us, same thing happened, and I was just like, I don't know why you can't call someone back. I think that if you're a coach, an organization, or anything, baseball or anything else, you should give people the common courtesy of just saying, I think we're just going to, my decision may not be right, and you don't have to like it. I may be wrong. But I did have to make a decision, and I chose to go.
There's only so many spots. There's more kids than spots, so not everyone's going to make the team. And also, I don't see why you wouldn't do that just to keep a good relationship with those people.
Yeah. So
maybe you need that kid down the road.
Well, I sent you today a comment where somebody was talking about you better leave the right way because it's a small sandbox and the chances of you playing again with someone from the team you leave are pretty strong.
Yeah.
And boy, that kind of made me think, and so think about this. So I said it earlier now a couple of times. We've got 7 kids out of 10 who started only been with us. Out of the 3 who didn't start with us, 2 of those did play on another team together.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how small it can be,
right.
and you leave the wrong way. It's not just the coach that you're leaving the wrong way. You're leaving the parents. If you leave the team early? You're leaving those parents in the lurch, right? Or maybe their kids got to play a position, that just to cover for your kid that left, right?
Yeah.
What's the bad taste in that? Just the perception of doing the right things, right? It's a small sandbox out there, and I think there's probably a whole podcast on that someday of parents having to eat crow or come back or sit beside someone that they mouth off to, or they got mad at the coach, and 2 years later he's not the coach, but he's just a parent, and you're on the same team.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I've never had to deal with that, so I don't know how I would feel about it. But I think you're probably pretty forgiving, right? Because you go, it's stressful.
I would hope so, but a lot of things that we hope adults would do in the heat of travel baseball.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The last thing I was thinking about in all this is how it can hurt the kids, right? The movement that towards the end of June, and even I guess in the last week, I've seen where teams disbanded.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. They just couldn't get enough kids left to go to other teams, or they just couldn't get enough kids to fill their roster out. And so you got a core of kids on some of these teams, and all of a sudden, and then the great kids, great families, and they don't have a place to play, and all the tryouts are over.
Right.
I just feel really bad for the kids that get caught up in that collateral damage. I did see a neat thing. If I was just thinking, what would I do if I was in that situation? There was a parent who said, "Hey, we disbanded. This is our age group. These are the positions he plays," and then posted a video of the kid hitting off a tee. And I thought, the picture says 1,000 words. The kid looked really good.
Yeah.
I thought that was a kind of an interesting way to be aggressive about it. But what do you do?
But isn't it kind of weird that when the parent starts to function as the kid's agent on social media, and they're like 2031 grad,
So when they change travel ball teams, they do a social media committed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
committed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say plus arm, good bat.
Yeah.
that I almost can't imagine making a post like that. Which isn't to say I wouldn't if we really needed a team, but to say, here's my kid, like he's a really good player. I don't know. I just can't. I can't imagine saying that about my child. About another kid on the team, 100%. I would say it. You know what I mean? But being your own kid's agent is such a weird position to be in.
Well, most of those posts do come kind of after the tryouts were posted, and then they start posting, and maybe their kid didn't make a team.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the year, I hear what you're saying about that. At the end of the year, we got kids still without a team, and teams still looking for one or two. And what if there actually was a transfer portal like college? You could just pull up it, and you could see every kid who says, "I'm out there."
And there's some video. that he's hitting. Yeah.
Is that coming someday?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? And you put your kid on there and you're just sitting there waiting. You're just sitting there waiting. Going, who's calling me?
Or the coach is looking at the transfer portal before the season's over. You see one of your players in the portal.
Oh, yeah. Open the transfer portal before the season's out. And then it's going to turn into the phone calls. Your kid comes, he gets a new hype fire. I got an Arctic for him if he comes on, NIL starting out at travel ball. We're probably not far. It's probably happened on the major level, at the 13 to 14 level. Kids, we've heard
informally,
flew in and hotels and stuff. But,
or like you'll see even videos where all the gear you get if you join this team. Like here's all the gear you get if you're on the 5-star national team.
Yeah.
Kids love gear.
Yeah.
There's nothing they like more than fresh new gear.
Yeah. So I guess we don't really know what happened behind all the scenes, but we did get to see flashes with Facebook and then just talking with people we know at the park and hearing the rumors. And I think we're almost done. Teams are starting to post their teams on the site. And
some of them are incomplete rosters. Still looking.
Still looking. Need that one or two good players.
We're very fortunate.
Yeah.
Over here, we got our 10.
We are. Well, Charlie, I've had a great time talking about this. We're going to, for the listeners, we want this to not be something we just talk. We really want you to come and put your comments. Please find us on Facebook. That's going to kind of be the avenue that we go to talk with you guys, for you guys to put down comments. Charlie's going to post the list of questions. So if you're new coming out of rec league, this is a great place to start. And maybe there's a few things, if you've been in a few years, that maybe you learned today, you can learn to ask as well. So with that, we are excited about this journey. We're going to keep pumping out some content because, as you can tell, we just love talking travel ball.
Yeah.
So,
hey, let us know what you want us to talk about.
Let us know. Definitely make this listener driven. We have a list of things that we want to talk about, but if there's a commonality on the Facebook page saying this is a great topic, we'll put that ahead and we'll just start talking about it. Maybe we'll get some guests, Charlie, as we move on here a little bit. Might get an umpire someday, some coaches, or an academy owner. What the other thing that I think before we leave today, I was thinking about, I hadn't shared with you. What about the parent who's termed out now 2 or 3 years, and they want to get their perception looking back of what they would have done different? Yeah, we might do something like that. So, but with that said, we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you at the ballpark.
See you at the ballpark.